Hello students, myself Dr. Mahesh Pentewar, Department of Zoology, Gramin ACS Mahavidyalay, Vasantanagar, Kodgyal, Maharashtra State. My college is affiliated to Swami Ramanand Tirtha, Marathoda University, Nanded. Today, I will discuss about the semester 5th, paper 12, Ecology and Zoogeography. In this paper, you study 4 units. The first unit is Ecology, Introduction and Scope of Ecology. So what is meant by ecology? The meaning of the word ecology was given by a German biologist Haeckel in 1869. The word ecology derived from 2 words. One is a ocis. Ocis means house, habitat, or a place where the organisms or plants are living. And logos means to study. That means ecology defined as the study of interrelationship of different organisms with each other and with their environment. It is concerned with the general principles that apply to both animals and plants. The components of an ecosystem. In every ecosystem, there were 2 components. One is a abiotic component and another is a biotic component. Abiotic component is non-living and biotic component is living things. So what is in abiotic components? It is again 2 types, climatic and edaphic. In climatic, rain, light, wind, temperature, etc. And in edaphic, abiotic components, it includes soil, pH, minerals and topography. And the second most important part in ecosystem is a biotic components, that means living components. It is divided into 3 types: producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers are autotrophs, that means they feeds itself. Consumers are heterotrophs, that means they are totally depending on the producers. And the decomposers is the saprophytes, that means depending on the dead organic matter. Out of these 3 types, producer, consumer and decomposers, the consumers are again divided into the 3 main types. These types are primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. The primary consumers are herbivorous. They are depending on the producers. The secondary consumers are a primary carnivorous. They take their food from the primary consumers, that means herbivorous organisms. The tertiary consumers is a large carnivorous or secondary carnivorous. They feed their food from the secondary consumers. The second bit in this unit is a types of ecosystem. There were 2 types of ecosystem we were study in this 3rd year. One is a aquatic ecosystem and another is a terrestrial ecosystem. Examples of aquatic ecosystem is pond ecosystem, and in terrestrial ecosystem we study the desert ecosystem. So in pond ecosystem, a pond ecosystem refers to the freshwater ecosystem. It is a very good example of a ecosystem where there are communities of organisms dependent on each other with the prevailing water environment for their nutrients and survival. Second terrestrial example is a desert ecosystem we study in this year. A desert ecosystem is defined by interaction between organisms, the climate in which they live, and any other non-living influences on the habitat. Deserts are arid regions which are generally associated with warm temperatures. However, cold deserts also exist. After these types of ecosystem, we study the food chain. A food chain describes as how energy and nutrients move through an ecosystem. At the basic level, these are plants that produce the energy. Then it moves up to higher level organisms like herbivores. Next bit is a food web. What is meant by food web? A food web is the natural interconnection of food chains. A graphical representation, usually an image, of what eats what in an ecological community. After food web, we study the ecological pyramid. A pyramid of energy represents how much energy initially from the sun is retained or stored in the form of new biomass at each trophic level in an ecosystem. Typically, about 10% of the energy is transferred from one trophic level to the next trophic level, thus preventing a large number of trophic levels. Energy pyramids are necessarily upright in healthy ecosystems. That is, there must always be more energy available at a given level of the pyramid to support the energy and biomass requirement of the next trophic level. After this, we study in the second chapter energy flow in an ecosystem. Energy moves life. The cycle of energy based on flow of energy through different trophic levels in an ecosystem. Our ecosystem is maintained by the cycling energy and nutrients obtained from different external sources. At the first trophic level, primary producers use solar energy to produce organic material through the photosynthesis. The herbivores at the second trophic level use the plants as a food which gives them energy. A large part of this energy is used up for the metabolic functions of these animals, such as breathing, digesting food, supporting growth of tissues, maintaining blood circulation and body temperature. The carnivores at the next trophic level feeding on the herbivores and derive energy from their substances and growth. If a large predators are present in the represent still higher trophic level and they feed on carnivores. And lastly, the decomposers, which include bacteria, fungi, modules, worms and insects, break down wastes and dead organisms and return to the nutrients. After this second chapter, we study the biogeochemical cycle. In this unit, we study the two types of biogeochemical cycles, that is a gaseous cycle and another is a sedimentary cycle. The example of gaseous cycle is the oxygen cycle is the biogeochemical transition of oxygen atoms between different oxidation states in ion, oxides and molecules. And second cycle is a sedimentary cycle. The examples of the sedimentary cycle is a sulfur cycle. The sulfur cycle is the collection of processes by which sulfur moves from rocks, waterways and living systems. Such a biochemical cycles are important in geology because they affect many minerals. After the sulfur cycle, we study the spheres of the earth. In this chapter, we study the spheres of earth, that is the atmosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. So, firstly, atmosphere. We live at the bottom of an invisible ocean called the atmosphere. A large of gases surroundings our planet. Nitrogen and oxygen account for 99% of the gases in dry air, with argon, carbon dioxide, helium, neon and other gases making up minute portion. The second layer of the earth is a lithosphere, that means land. The lithosphere is the solid outer part of the earth, including the brittle upper portion of the mantle and the crust. The third layer is the hydrosphere, that means it is related to the water. Hydro means water, spheres means layer. A hydrosphere is the total amount of water on a planet. The hydrosphere include water that is on the surface of the planet, underground water and in the air. The last type and most important is a biosphere. Bio means life. All living things, plants and animals. The biosphere is made up of the parts of the earth where life exists. After this, we study the ecological succession. Ecological succession in terrestrial and marine ecosystem results from both human caused or anthropogenic disturbances and natural disturbances. Often, after a major disturbance, you can observe an ecosystem move through several stages of the successions. After this, the first unit is completed and in the second unit, we study about the population ecology. What is meant by population ecology? The development of population ecology owes much demography and actuarial life tables. Population ecology is an important in conservation biology. We study in this chapter natality, mortality, population dispersal, population density, age distribution, population growth form, population equilibrium and fluctuation. So what is meant by natality? Natality is a birth rate. Natality in population ecology is the scientific term of birth rate along with mortality rate. Second bit is a mortality. Mortality means death rate. It is measures of the number of deaths. After the mortality, we study population dispersal. So what is meant by population dispersal? The process by which groups of living organisms expand the space or range within which they live. Dispersal operates when individuals, organisms leave the space that they have occupied previously or in which they were born and settle in new areas. After this, we study the population density. Population density is a measurement of population per unit area, or exceptionally unit volume. It is a quantity of time number density. It is frequently applied to living organisms, most of the time to humans. It is a key geographical term. The simple term population density refers to the number of people living in an area per square kilometer. After this, we study about the age distribution. Age distribution, also called as age composition. In population studies, the proportion number of persons in successive age categories in a given population. Age distribution differ among countries mainly because of difference in the level and trends of fertility. Then after, we study about the population growth form. There were two types of population growth pattern may occur depending on specific environmental conditions you see in the figure. An exceptional growth pattern, it is also called as J curve, which occurs in an ideal unlimited environment. And the second type is a logistic growth pattern, that is also called as S curve, occurs when environmental pressures slow the rate of growth. And the last bit of population ecology is population equilibrium and fluctuations. An equilibrium is supposed to fluctuate in time, but the extent of the fluctuations relative to those of the population size is unknowable. It is impossible to separate a fluctuation population size from a fluctuation equilibrium value and from fluctuating deviations from an equilibrium value. In this unit, we study the biotic interactions. Second chapter. First is a population ecology and second is a biotic interaction. In this, we study the positive interaction and negative interactions. So the example of positive interaction is a commensalism and mutualism. So firstly, we study about the commensalism. What is meant by commensalism? Commensalism in biology, a relationship between individuals of two species in which one species obtained food or other benefits from the other without either harming or benefiting the latter. Second type is a mutualism. That means both are beneficial, plus plus. Mutualism is defined as a relationship that benefits two organisms, or it is defined as a doctrine in sociology where mutual aids is beneficial to society and the individuals. Second is a negative interactions between the organisms. There were competition, predation and parasitism. So firstly we study about the competition. What is meant by competition? Ecological competition is the struggle between two organisms for the same resources within an environment. Resources are components of an environment that are required for survival and reproduction, such as food, water, shelter, light and substance. Members of the same species may also compete for mates. Another example is a predation. In predation, one organism kills the another organisms and consumes. Predation provides energy to prolong the life and promote the reproduction of the organism that does the killing. The predator to the determinant of the organism being consumed. The prey. Predation influences organisms at two ecological levels. At the level of the individual, the prey organism has an abrupt decline in the fitness as measured by its lifetime reproductive successes because it will never reproduce again. At this level of the community, predation reduces the number of individuals in the prey in this population. So last is a parasitism. So what is meant by parasites? Now parasitism, it is a relationship between two species of plants or animals in which one benefits at the expense of the other. Sometimes without killing the host organism, because the death of the host is the death of the parasite. The unit number 3 is a pollution. In this chapter, we study the pollution sources, effects and control measures of a pollution. There were 3 types of pollution we study in this year: air pollution, water pollution and noise pollution. Firstly, we study about an air pollution. Air pollution, earlier the air we breathe in use to be pure and fresh, but due to increasing industrialization and concentration of poisonous gases in the environment, the air is getting more and more toxic day by day. Also, these gases are the cause of many respiratory and other diseases like cough. It is a respiratory diseases. Moreover, the rapidly increasing human activities like the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation is the major cause of the air pollution. The second pollution is a water pollution. We know that water pollution is a serious environmental issue nowadays. Water is said to be polluted if its physical, biological and chemical properties are deteriorated via anthropogenic and natural activities. Human and animals in all aspects, water pollution is very hazardous to the environment. The water we drink daily looks clean. However, it is contaminated with microscopic pollutants. Many families have installed water purifiers at home to ensure that their family members get to drink a healthy water. After the water pollution, we study about the noise pollution. Noise pollution can cause health problems for people and wildlife, both on land and in the sea. From traffic noise to rock concerns, loud or inescapable sounds can cause hearing loss, stress, and high blood pressures. Noise from ships and human activities in the ocean is harmful to whales and dolphins. In the third unit, second topic we study, the topic name is energy resources. In these two types of energy resources, one is a conventional energy resources and other is a non-conventional energy resources. The examples of conventional energy resources we see firstly the fossil fuels. This type of fuel has by far the worst negative impact on the environment. Combustion of fossil fuels causes the release tremendous amounts of carbon that was settled down millions of years and then was converted these layers of rocks and soils to an atmosphere. The second bit is a nuclear power. The production of energy in nuclear power plants is extremely clean processes. There are not greenhouse gases. It is only comes to the heating of the water which is used for reactor cooling, and this can eventually influence on some biosystems. The biggest problem regarding nuclear power plant is the used fuels which is extremely radioactive and must be stored for a couple of centuries in special underground warehouses. The third type is a hydel power. Hydel means water. Water energy use is not creating an pollution of the environment, but the infrastructure object can have significant impact on the environment. The second bit is a non-conventional energy resources. The first example is solar energy. Solar energy of the sun has tremendous potential because of its small power efficiency. It would be needed to cover great areas in order to get more serious amounts of renewable energy. So another type is a wind energy. Production of energy out of the wind does not have serious negative effect on the environment. Ecologically speaking, only real flow of the wind power plant is the negative effect on decreasing the bird population because it is propyliar is killing birds. Last one is a tidal energy. Tidal energy is a power produced by the surge of ocean waters during the rise and fall of tides. Tidal energy is a renewable source of energy. After this, we study the last fourth unit. We study first chapter is a adaptation. Adaptation means a adjustment. So first example is a aquatic adaptation. Adaptation is defined as the process of adjustment of an organism to its environment. Organisms show the adaptation in the following ways: by losing and gaining of organs, by changing the color of body occurred according to the habitat, by the modification of organs. The plants which grow, derive food, multiply and adjust themselves inside water called aquatic plants. The animals which grow, multiply and adjust themselves inside the water, these were called as aquatic animals. The second type is desert adaptation. Nocturnal desert animals keep cool by being active at night, whereas some other desert animals get away from the sun's heat by digging underground burrows. Other common adaptations seen in desert animals including big ears, light colored coats, humps to store fat, and adaptation that help conserve water. Last type of adaptation is a volant adaptation or aerial adaptation. Volant adaptation refers to the adaptation done by those organisms which have an aerial mode of life or spend most of their time in the flying. The need to maintain their body in air and adapt for propulsion as well. Adaptations, forelimbs modified into the wings, which is help for the flying. The second chapter, which is the most important nowadays, it is a wildlife conservation and endangered species. First subtitle in this chapter is aims and necessity of wildlife conservation. The second bit of in this chapter is a wildlife and endangered species in India. So firstly we study about the what is wildlife conservation and endangered species. So wildlife conservation aims to protect plant and animal species as the human population encroaches on their resources. And what is the endangered species? An endangered species is a type of organism that is threatened by extinct. Species become endangered for two main reasons: loss of habitat and loss of genetic variations. In this chapter, we study the next bit, that is measures to protect endangered species in India. For that protection, we educate our family about endangered species in our area. Recycle and buy sustainable products. Reduce our water consumptions reduce our personal footprint, do not buy plastic products, pressure your civil servants, volunteer your time to protect the wildlife in your area. Then last bit is a sanctuaries and national parks in India. National parks in India are discussed here along with the wildlife conservation. These are suitable place for biodiversity conservation. National parks and wildlife sanctuaries are protected areas declared by government with the primary objective to preserve wildlife, save flora and fauna, and restore the natural ecological balance. There are 103 national parks in India and 544 wild sanctuaries in India. The last chapter of this syllabus is a zoogeographical realms. So in this chapter, we study the physical features and fauna of the two realms in brief. One is a Oriental realm and another is a Australian realm. The Oriental region, the greater part of the Oriental region is a tropical. The northwestern part is dry and partially desert. So animal life is chiefly confined to the form related to those of the dry parts of the Ethiopian and Palearctic regions. The second realm is Australian realm. In this, the biogeographic realm second is a Australian realm. The Australian realm is a biographic realm that is coincident but not synonymous with the geographical region of Australia. The realm includes Australia, the island of New Guinea, and the eastern part of the Indonesia, including the island of Sulawesi and island of Lombok, Sumba, Flores, and Timor of Nose and the Leisure Sound. So, this is the outline classification of the paper 12 Ecology and Zoogeography. So, best of luck my students. Thank you. Thank you very much.